What's going on, guys? This is going to be part 3 of the LR-308 build. I was debating on if I wanted to actually make this video a video of itself or wait till my next shipment, but I figured I had enough stuff and I kind of wanted to clear up a few things from my last video and make it its own video. So again, this is going to be part 3. I figured it would be able to add just one more video to the series, give you guys something to watch. And again, I have some stuff that I kind of want to go over. So pretty much I want to go over the misinformation. I believe I labeled that a Yankee Hill gas block up front. That is a JD machine. I looked at my invoice and that is a JD machine gas block. It's pretty much the same thing as the Yankee Hill. It's just I want to clear up that it is a JD machine. Pretty much do the same thing. The other thing that I want to clear up too, in my last video I stated that you could probably use a standard AR-15 lower parts kit. That is incorrect. I found out that the pins are actually, the diameter of the LR-308 pins are actually bigger by a few thousandths of an inch than the standard 5.56 lower parts kit takedown pins. I confirmed it by measuring those. I'm sure there's other parts in there that are oversized for the LR-308. So just keep that in mind, that you do need to get a dedicated LR-308 build, and this is a dedicated CMG LR-308 lower parts kit. So there's that. Another thing too is this is a CMG kit. I put this together off camera. What I had to do is I actually had to get a Dremel and I had to slice a little flathead screwdriver, like just slash like a little line in there, because this is a Allen key screw for the pistol grip, which is not a problem, but standard Allen keys, which is all I have right now, once they start rubbing against this, the elbow starts rubbing, it's only about halfway in, so you need to get an extended neck Allen key to fully put this on, and I don't have any of those with me. I used to. I have no idea where they went, but most of my lower parts kits have the flathead screwdriver screw in there, and I figured I'd just make it because I can always find a long enough flathead screwdriver before I can find my Allen keys that are long enough for that. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to buy the CMG kit. Again, it's a quality kit. Just keep in mind you are going to have a long neck or extended Allen key to be able to put this in, or do what I did and get the Dremel and just slice the line in there, and then you can use a flathead screwdriver. I think that's pretty much it. I'll start out, what I ended up picking up, I think I said it in one of my other videos, I got the 20 round PMags. I might pick up some 10 rounders later, but I ended up getting Gen 3 20 round PMags. Nothing new I can really say about them that hasn't already been said. There's plenty of videos if you guys want to see reviews of these. Great mags. Another good thing about the DPMS platform, you can take standard PMags. I believe the Armalite has issues even accepting or feeding from PMags. So again, if you want PMags, something to keep in mind. If you want PMags, I think you have to go with the DPMS platform. Again, I'm not 100% on that. This is a learning experience for me. It's a little bit different than AR-15s. There's a lot of quirky stuff out there. There's a lot of different platforms for the 308 platform itself. So do a little research on that, but I believe there's a couple that do not feed certain mags, and I believe it's the Armalite AR-10s do not take PMags without modification or something like that. So there's the PMags. Next, kind of wanted to go over, I've been training a lot of people brass lately. I talked to a lot of reloading guys, and I've been on a hunt for some Lake City brass for 308. I've been training a lot of people with my 45, 357, and 9mm brass for the Lake City brass. Some of you guys know that follow my channel, you guys know I have a 700, and I reload 175 Sierra Match King bullets in Winchester brass. Why that's relevant is because the reason why I'm on such a hunt for Lake City brass, it is quality brass, but the other reason is for reloading and kind of inventory sake, that I want to keep this to the Lake City Federal brass, and then my fire formed brass for my 700, I want to keep that as a Winchester. That way I keep the fire formed brass to my 700 and don't have to keep re-fire forming because I'm shooting them through this. If you guys don't know what that means, pretty much for bolt actions you have to fire form the case for it to have better performance and be fit for that, and it only happens in bolt actions because the action stays closed. For a semi-auto, you have to full length size the brass because it spits it out. So if I use my 700 brass, it's pretty much going to change the dimensions of the case. So again, that way I don't have to keep fire forming brass. I'm going to keep these two, or this one, to the Lake City brass, and then I'll be able to keep separately and keep track of my fire form brass for my 700. The other thing too is I'm looking to pick up some 168 grain. This rifle, once done, is going to be my main, depending on how it goes. But the idea of this rifle is going to be my local match rifle. It's pretty much it's a different stage, up to 600-yard match, and it's got a bunch of different stuff. And the way I see it is a semi-auto would probably do a lot better job than a bolt action, at least my 700. So that's, again, the main idea why I wanted, besides the cool factor, why I wanted a LR-308. So I'm probably going to load some 168 grains through this, and maybe try some 175 Sierra Match Kings and see how it goes through this, because this does have a 1 in 10. So I'll probably prefer and stabilize just a little bit better than 175s, but it shouldn't have a problem spitting out the 168s once I pick those up. Kind of a little factual information is supposedly the reason why I haven't put in the order for my 168 yet is I wanted the AMAX with the red ballistic tip, I believe they call it, the 168 grain AMAXs, and I found out, I guess Hornady, they focus, once hunting season's around, they stop making their target ammo and they focus on their hunting ammo. So everywhere I've looked, they're out of stock, and the 168 grain AMAXs aren't in stock until about mid-summer, so around June or July. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. But once those come in, I'll probably order those. If not, I'll see if I can track down some Sierra Match Kings and see if I can do something with those. But those are a little bit more expensive. So that brings up another point too. Is, let me see if this one has it. No. Another thing you want to look for when you're picking up this one's not too bad, but there's a few that are pretty bad. You can tell that this brass right here was fired from, not this one, but the guy I got it off of. See, there you go. You can kind of see the dimple in the middle of the case. What that means is that's fired from a semi-automatic rifle. And what that is caused from is, as you can tell, luckily I didn't even think about this until just recently, but this is a flat shelf. Some AR-10s or LR-308s, they have it, it's pretty much an upstep and then it cuts out. So there's a little bit of a ledge right here. And what that does is when this ejects, it slaps against that, and it's a corner. So when it slaps against that corner, it ends up putting that dimple in there. And over time, if you reload, it's definitely something you want to keep in mind, because that will affect your brass life, because once metals stretch, they do not come back. You can reform them, but their fibers have already stretched and it doesn't shrink back. So that's going to be a weak point. So if that keeps happening, then over time it's going to cut its life down, and that will probably end up being a failure point. But again, with mine, I'll show you, mine's a flat face. I don't really have to worry about that, so that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at upper receivers and brass deflectors, to make sure it's flat, because you can kind of see I have a little one, but that's not going to affect it. Some of them are about halfway up where they have the elbow and it kind of goes down. So again, something to keep in mind when you're shopping around, that if you're going to reload or you want to take care of your brass, to take a look at that and make sure yours has a flat face and doesn't have the little corner on it. I also ended up picking up my A2 stock. It doesn't have the tube. I have that on order. And I didn't order the buffer spring or the buffer. If you guys can't tell, you should be able to see a little bit that the A2 stock is longer than the carbine. So it takes its own tube. I believe this one's actually thicker. The diameter of the carbine buffer tube is thicker than the A2. Pretty clear too that the A2 is actually longer. The other buffer tube comes all the way out to here. So because it's a longer tube, it also takes a longer spring. Because it's a longer tube and it takes a different spring and a different buffer, because the to make up for the length, the compression ratio has to be different. But what I'm going to try and do, because I'm going to plan on going to the UBR stock pretty soon, and that accepts the carbine spring. So instead of buying, if I can get away with it, instead of buying the separate, I think it's like for 40 bucks, I can get both the A2 buffer and buffer spring, which again are both longer to accept and fit in this. If this diameter can fit in here, I'm going to put a like wooden dowel or wooden block inside of the buffer tube once I get it, and see if I can maybe mock up and put the carbine spring in here and make up for the space. That way the compression ratio is the same and it will be able to work. But for now, I'm going to keep this on. Again, the buffer tube for the A2 should be here pretty soon, so I'll probably have this installed in the next video and go over that. But the main reason why I want to put this video up is I finally ended up getting my rail. I got the Troy MRF 18-inch in black. Gonna give you guys the item number and stuff like that. Should be right above black. So there's the item number. Again, this is the DPMS platform. This is the JD machine, matching upper and lower with the high rail. Again, that just means that the rail is thicker, so it's going to be a little higher. If it's going to sit flush, you have to order the proper rail. Again, I got the Troy rail. This is the MRF 13.8. I was going to get the Daniel Defense 12.0, but I ended up going with the Troy mainly because it was about 150 bucks, depending on where you look. It's about $150 cheaper. And again, this is the high profile. I couldn't find a Daniel Defense high profile, so that was kind of one issue. And then this was $150 cheaper. I like Daniel Defense products. They're great products, but Troy also makes a solid rail. Besides the price point, I like the serrations in between the Picatinny rails, or the quad rails, that it actually has groove cuts to break up the, just kind of give it that extra look. Looks kind of cooler, at least in my opinion. And the main reason why I chose this over the Daniel Defense is because the Daniel Defense only has the 12.0 rail, or I believe it's a 12.0 Omega rail, which is about 12 inches. This is 13.8. We'll extend a little bit farther to let me get the bipod just a little bit farther forward for a more solid base and kind of cover up a little bit more of the barrel. So just give you guys a quick look. Again, this is the Troy 13.8 308 dedicated. You got to make sure you get the 308 for the 308 platform. The 556 and 308 rails are not the same thing. I believe these are thicker and the diameter is bigger, but this comes with its own barrel nut system. Again, I was looking for a barrel nut. This came with the barrel nut. That's kind of what assisted my purchase onto the Troy. It came with the barrel nut. That way I didn't have to go purchase one separately, which I was having issues with. Doesn't seem like there's that many people that have a 308 barrel nut just by itself. Even if you have an existing barrel nut on your 308, you still need to purchase, well, you don't need to purchase because it comes with it, but you need to use this barrel nut because the clamping system works with this specific barrel nut. That's why it comes with it. It has its own clamping system. My camera keeps cutting out. I don't know why, but I'm going to try and make this quick. This is a two-piece rail, just like most other rails out there. Again, it's a quality rail. Troy makes quality, good rails. Again, this is a 13.8 Troy MRF rail for the 308. You got to make sure you get the proper one for the 308 because, again, the 556 and 308 are two different dimensions, and I believe the nut system and the nut itself are different. So there's that. That's pretty much the main reasons why I wanted to. That's the other thing too. It is also T-marked. It has the T for top, R for right, bottom, left. Has the markings for the rail. So that's pretty much going to be everything for part 3. Again, I got the brass. That wasn't really that important, but it was just something I figured I'd throw in the video. I got the A2 stock. Ended up picking up the PMags, and the main purchase is the rail. I should have some more products coming in pretty soon to finish the build. It's been shipping for the past couple days. So again, it should be here pretty soon. So that's going to be about it. It's kind of going to, for a while, until I can afford the UBR, it's kind of going to have the Mark 11, Mark 12 build look. I kind of like that look. That was my original plan. I kind of wanted to copy off the M110, but I kind of like the UBR features, so I'm probably going to end up going with that later, but I have no issue running the Mark 11 look for a little while, or at least my take of it. So yeah, it's going to be the end of part 3, so tune on in for part 4.